On this episode of Bangin' Gears, we're going to put another alternator in the Cobra. Another alternator. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Maybe on this episode of Bangin' Gears, I'm going to take this rubber mallet and bash myself in the face with it over and over and over again, because I can't believe I have to make this video again. Again. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. 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 Ah! Roll the damn intro. So about a month ago I made a video about putting a new alternator in the Cobra. And if you're looking for a good tutorial on how to do that, it's a great video and I'll put the link here. And how I figured I needed a new alternator in the first place was I was at the Cars and Coffee event at Dulles Landing, and somebody noticed that my alternator was slightly off center, and I brought it home. The alternator just fell out of the bottom of the car. It was just hanging on by the tension bar. The whole pivot bolt, the mount where it goes to the pivot bolt, just snapped off. And I don't have that alternator anymore, so I'll cut to some previous footage from the old video and I'll show you what that alternator looked like. So the reason why we're replacing the alternator in the first place is because of this puppy right here. There's no bolt. At first I thought it might have just gotten loose and spun out, but it's actually broken off, and it looks like somebody tried to drill it out and did a horrible job. There's actually still pieces of the bolt in there. So now that we got it off the bracket, I want you to take a look at that. I hope you can see that. That is destroyed. It looks like it's filled in. Looks like somebody welded it closed, but really that's just a bolt, and somebody drilled it and did a horrible job. Whoever did this is an idiot. Mounting bracket that holds the alternator in place, that goes through where the pivot bolt goes through, the bolts had snapped off. Most alternators, like the new one, okay, the pivot bolt goes through the bottom here, and it's all one piece. It's molded into the entire thing. Okay? Where on the old alternator, this is the second one, not the first one, that same mounting bracket where the pivot bolt goes through bolts on. So the bolts are the weak point. What I keep doing is, when I get to 3,000 RPMs, it's actually tweaking the alternator on those bolts, putting a lot of stress on those bolts, and it's throwing the belt off, so my pulley alignment is wrong, and that's where I'm getting the squeak from that I still had even after I replaced the alternator. So every time I speed up, and the alternator kind of does this, and it puts stress on the bolts, and finally the bolts snap off. So on the first alternator, there was only 2 bolts holding that mounting bracket on. And again, I'll cut to it and show you. This one, when I got it, I even referenced it in the video, this one's got 3 bolts holding it on, and I snapped all 3 off coming home from the Audi Cars and Coffee event a week ago. Left me stranded on the side of the road. And I went to a Shell station there in Herndon, and guys were unbelievable. Okay, they spent like 2.5, 3 hours. He managed to back out the bolts, re-tap the holes, get me back on the road, but you can see that the aluminum stretched. Okay, so once you undo the bolts, take the mounting bracket off, you can see how close they are to the edge of the alternator case. And you can see that from the rocking, the aluminum actually has been stretched. It's not smooth anymore. So what's going to happen is eventually the bolt, when they're in and it keeps rocking like this, eventually they're going to put so much pressure, it's actually going to rip through the side. So this alternator, even though it charges perfect, is trash. It's trash. Because the billet aluminum alternators, they're so expensive, the parts. Even with the first one, I just tried to get a new case, and by the time I got the case and had it shipped, I could have bought a brand new one. So I bought a brand new one. And now this one's trash. It's a design flaw. It truly is. So now, instead of this being the weak point where it bolts on, we're going to get rid of it. And like I said, you got a brand new alternator where it's all one piece. It's solid. So it should hold on straight. It shouldn't pivot when you rock it. It should just stay straight. And everything should be good to go. So I want to give a better example of what's actually happened. So when the mount is on and the pivot bolt goes through and bolts to the car and it's solid, and the bracket is on here and it's nice and tight, and the belt is on, as the belt spins, the alternator is rocking a little bit. The aluminum is stretching, and it's just rocking a little bit side to side. Even though it's got the tension bar on it and it's pretty solid, at the higher RPMs, belt's moving so fast, it's putting a lot of pressure on the 10mm bolts that are holding on the bracket, the three of them here, and it's rocking it a little bit. And what it's doing is it's throwing my pulley alignment off, and that's where I'm getting my squeal on the belt. So that's what I wanted to show you. That's the weak point. The weak point are the mounting bolts. And with the new alternator, where it's all one piece and the bolt goes through and it holds on, there's nothing to stretch. It's a solid mass. It's one piece. So I think this is going to work better. Let's get it in the car, and then we'll go for a test drive. Not today because it's friggin' cold outside. So we'll go for a test drive maybe Wednesday, Thursday, and then the squeal should be gone. So the problem I'm having now is that when I put the new one on and I tighten the tension bar to where it's supposed to be, the belt isn't tight, okay, which is a red flag, which tells me, obviously you can see it now, this pulley is maybe an inch, 2 inches and a quarter, and this pulley is 2.5 inches. And that 1/4 of an inch makes all the difference in the world. So I just got back from my neighbor's house, who doesn't like to be on film, and he's got the air gun, so we swapped out the pulleys. So I have the larger one on the alternator now, and then we're going to put the new billet piece back on the top, and we'll get it back inside the car. So one of the other problems I was having was that the tension bar bottoms out on this little ridge on the alternator right here. So what I did was I took the spacer that was down here and got a little bit of a larger one, which kicks the tension bar out a little bit at the bottom, which allows me to bring it to the front to stabilize and adjust the alternator. So the belt is right where I want it to be, nice and tight. So I'm going to tighten up the pivot bolt down here at the bottom, and then we're going to go for our test drive. The alternator's charging at 14, which is good. Everything's good. Let's go for a little test drive and see if we hear that squeal. All right, let's punch it. parts I'm excited about, big time. Nope, no squeals. In 4th gear at 3,000 RPMs, no squeal. Actually, I think I just heard it. Damn it. Sure it's still there. I don't know. I'm at a loss. The alternator's on correctly. It's charging at 14. The belt is tight. The tension is tight. The alternator's straight. Belt seems to be in alignment, but I'm still getting a little bit of a squeal at the higher RPMs. So Ruby's gonna go in for an oil change on Tuesday. And normally I would do that, but it has to go in for front end alignment anyway because my camber is slightly negative and needs to be adjusted. While it's there, I'll have them take a look at it and see if they can figure it out. In the meantime, I'm gonna post this video, and if there's any updates, I will do it in the comment section below, so keep coming back and checking. But it's very drivable, and I have a show this weekend, so I'm gonna go wipe it down and keep a lookout for that video, and we will catch you next time on Bangin' Gears.